was hard, and he was crying a lot and whining a lot and throwing a lot of tantrums. How you in the hospital throwing tantrums? You know what I'm saying? Like, but I went to the coffee shop every single day, and I think the first Saturday I was there, I didn't get anything. But then the next Saturday I was there, I was like, I don't think I care about this anymore. And so I went down there and I got me some coffee, and I felt great. I got a Rice Krispie treat, and I didn't care. Ate some marshmallow. I didn't care. I just didn't care. And I had given up on the Bible probably 6 months prior. I had stopped reading the Bible, so there's like a certain freedom, I guess, of kind of giving up on religion and somebody telling you what to do and how to feel. I guess there's a certain feeling of, okay, I am in control of my own life. I was always in control of my own life. It's just I gave up that control to follow a religion, and I'm choosing not to do that anymore. So yeah, that's the moment when I was like, okay, yeah, I'm done. On top of that, I didn't have any food most of the time. Like, yeah, I had been in the hospital for a long, or he had been in the hospital, and I'd been with him for a long time. So my family was coming on the weekend. My aunt came, my mom came, my stepdad, like all my family and friends had stopped by, and most of the time it was on a Saturday. And if they brought me food, like I didn't care about that. Like them spending their money to take care of me, I didn't care about that. And a couple of times, my mom relieved me so I could leave on a Saturday to go and buy diapers because my son was really sensitive and he was still in diapers at the time. And the diapers they had were was gonna give him a rash. So I was going to get diapers and Chipotle and whatever else like I needed. So I just didn't care. It just didn't matter to me. And I think that's the moment I knew like, okay, I'm officially done.
Hey, first and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushua Ba'Hashem Rakakodash. Yahweh to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'Hashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. And in this video, you got a very simple-minded, Israelite, a woman, which, I don't even know why she made this video because she's just putting herself on blast. She's showing the world how, for a cup of coffee, she essentially threw away her salvation. Because that's what happened. She said that, she was in the hospital and that Saturday, right there, I bet she follows IUIC because I think they preach that Friday, Saturday is a Sabbath, which that's not right. Okay, the Sabbath is from, the new moon delineates the Sabbath and it changes every single month. So right now, we are currently in the Monday sundown to Tuesday sundown Sabbath. And it should change, I think, in a week. In a week it changes. I have to look at it. Let's actually check right now. New moon. Let's see when the next one is. November 20th. Okay, so November 20th is when the new Sabbath will kick in. But, they don't know that. And here it is. Sabbath comes. She said it's Saturday for her. And I must say this. Let's first start with Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 1. It says, "Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil." Right? And what is the whole armor? The whole armor is going into reading, praying, and fasting. And she said that 6 months prior, she had completely stopped reading her Bible. So she didn't have that armor. Right? Once she got that temptation, to go eat, go indulge in the flesh during the Lord's day, she completely indulged because she didn't have that armor to fight against those, those spirits. And I was watching a brother's video the other day, and he said something that was powerful. He said that you can't fight these demons by yourself, right? That's why you need the armor. Okay, you need the weapons of the Lord. Okay, the Lord made it so you can't fight these demons by yourself. Right here it is, you're trying to cast off these demons by yourself and you can't. But as soon as you start praying, you start fasting, you start reading, you put on that armor, these demons leave you alone. Right? Those temptations, you're able to overcome them. And the Lord made it that way. He made it so we have to rely upon Him, okay, in order to be protected, to receive salvation, to those next spiritual levels. So she completely was out here unarmed. She came, she brought a knife to a gunfight, essentially. So that's the first point. Which one thing I will say is that the scriptures say that sufficient to the day is the evil. Okay, you got to take things day by day because each day has its own hell, has enough evil, to keep you occupied. So it's a daily battle. Okay, it's a daily struggle. Every single day you got to fight the flesh. And I'm going to say this, okay, Satan be playing the long game, okay? Because essentially how you start falling off is by one thing, right? Everything always starts with one, right? You start leveling up and growing with one step, right? That first time you open that Bible, that was the first step. But let's say, you stop reading today. Well, one day turns into a week turns into a month. Eventually, you stop praying. You stop praying one day, it turns into a week, a month. And next thing you know, you ain't watching videos. That turns, it progresses more and more down. And it all starts with one slip up. That's why every single day we should be focused on doing spiritually what we have to do no matter what. Because one slip up is all it takes to get that momentum to get you off the right path. And like I said, Satan plays the long game. Okay, he's waiting patiently, to get you perfectly. So, let's keep reading. It says, "For you wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand." Right, so our fight is against spirits. And hey, I bet every single brother, sister, believer out there can attest that you always get those temptations on the Sabbath. Okay? On those days, on the Sabbath, if that's when your woman wants to do something, that's when your family's telling you that they're making a cookout. You say, your woman, or no, you just anything, that's when the temptation is there. And it's for a reason. Okay, it's those demons trying to get you to go off. To do things you're not supposed to do. So, ultimately she failed. And that just shows you that, her spirit was not strong, and ultimately the Lord just got rid of her. Because she said, "I don't care." She said, "I don't care." Well, guess what? When that ship comes, she's not going to care. She's not going to think twice about taking it because she doesn't care. It is what it is to her. She'd rather drink her coffee than receive salvation. It boils down to that. Because for a cup of coffee, she threw it all away. And it goes back to this, Romans 10 and verse 2. For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. A lot of our people believe, they know that the Most High is real, but they're not worshiping Him the correct way. Right? They go to these churches and to all types of other religions. Right? They don't do it according to actual knowledge. It says, "For they being ignorant of God's righteousness, and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God." Right? So they ignore the way the Most High set out. They ignore how you're not supposed to work on the Sabbath if you can. Right? You're not supposed to have sex on the Sabbath. Right? You're not supposed to, I believe, cook on the Sabbath too. And I'm going to say something about that too. That's why, like I said, because we're not going to be saved by the law, and the Lord knows your heart. So if you got to work and you can't get that day off, the Lord understands. We're in captivity. We're in hell. We can't keep the commandments 100%. right? So that's when, that faith kicks in. But you can control, having sex. You can control, certain things when it comes to the Sabbath. So it says, "For they being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves into the righteousness of God." And that's exactly what people do nowadays. They don't want to go the Lord's way, so they do their own thing. I don't care no more. I'm going to do my own thing. Because they can't submit. And that submission goes into doing whatever the head tells you to do. Right? So the Father tells us, don't do this, we're not going to do it. We're not going to question him. We're not going to buck up. Okay, we're going to be subordinates, which means to obey, to put under, submit self one to subject oneself, obey, to submit to one's control. Right? So there you have it. That's what we're seeing right now. And we can see that heavy, in these so-called churches. They ignore everything the Lord spoke about the laws and try to say that the Messiah completely cut that out and we don't got to do none of that. Complete lies. We'll get one more scripture. This is Mark chapter 4, and it goes into the parable of the sower. And one of the scenarios was verse 19. Verse 18, it says, "And these are they which are sown among thorns, such as hear the word, and the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches, and the lust of other things entering in choke the word, and it becometh unfruitful." Right? So essentially that's what happened to this woman, is that the cares of this world, choked up the word, and she decided to focus more on the world and not focus on the Lord, not put water towards that seed, and the seed ended withering away. She lost the spirit. And that's why it says that you gotta work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Because, this thing is like a seed. If you don't water it every single day, it's not going to grow. Okay, the Lord's going to take it from you. So, I see some comments on the brother's channel. Yeah, just no rules, do what you want. Esau owned her soul. Nothing but bitch babble. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than after they have known it to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. Right? Would have just been better if she knew nothing at all. If she was just wicked. But now she knows she's going to get judged because she knows. Right? Don't call me an Israelite no more. I'm black again. Right? These people think that just because you ain't following the ways of the Lord, that you ain't an Israelite no more. No, you're still an Israelite. By blood you're an Israelite. But spiritually, she's not an Israelite. She's a heathen. That's why it says in Romans that they are not all Israel which are of Israel. Okay, because only the elect are going to get it. Let's end with that. Romans 11:7. What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear, unto this day. Right? So, this word is not for all the Israelites. Only the elect, the remnant, are going to understand it and hold true to it unto the end, to the best they can. Okay, the rest of our people are going to be a case like this. They're just not going to care. They're not going to give a fuck. And they're going to go down and trust in the shadow of Egypt and take that chip because they just don't care. So this is a cautionary tale because we're going to see more and more people, come out. You've already seen it, giving their testimonies of how I was a Hebrew Israelite. And it's really just, when I remember somebody asked me, what do you believe in? What are you? And we are essentially the true Christians. I just say I'm a Christian because that's essentially, it's not essentially, that's what we are. We are the true Christians because we follow the Messiah. Right? So this right here is just another lost Christian. Believe for a little bit, but ultimately just wasn't part of the elect. So I'll leave it there. Hopefully it was edifying with that and give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Rakakwadash, and double honor to the other bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me the truth. Shalom to you, elect. Shalom.